The woman who stopped an airport. The morning air at Coastal Haven Airport bit with a crisp Atlantic chill, the kind that didn't apologize for making you shiver. Dr. Eleanor Brooks stepped out of her understated sedan. No entourage, no flashy briefcase, just a charcoal coat and worn black sneakers that had carried her through countless boardrooms where she was often the only black woman present. At 52, she'd learned to move with quiet authority, her eyes fixed on the glowing sign above the terminal. Priority entry, Tier 1 VIP access. A sign she'd helped design. A system she'd built from the ground up. Inside, the terminal buzzed with early travelers, businessmen barking into earbuds, families juggling luggage, a toddler's wail slicing through the hum. Eleanor approached the Tier 1 lane, a velvet rope and glass gate separating it from the chaos. Behind the podium stood a young clerk, Jason, 24, his blazer too tight and his eyes glued to his phone. He barely glanced up as Eleanor presented her ID, a sleek black card with a silver chip, Dr. Eleanor Brooks, Executive Override, ClearSky Ethics Grid, Tier 1 Command Access. I'm here for a systems audit, she said, her voice calm but firm. Federal clearance. You should see my name on the registry. Jason blinked slowly, his gaze flicking over her coat, her skin, her shoes. You got a boarding pass? He asked, already half dismissive. No, she replied. As I said, I'm not flying. I'm auditing the system. He tapped lazily at his keyboard, then shook his head with a smirk. Nothing under your name. Without a boarding pass or an airline rep, I can't let you through. His tone carried the weight of someone who thought he'd already won. Eleanor's expression didn't shift. She slid her ID closer. This grants me access. Check again. Jason barely glanced at it. Says you work in tech, he muttered, tossing it back. Doesn't make you Tier 1. She leaned forward slightly. It says I run it. He snorted, a sound that echoed in the quiet lane. Look, lady, you might be some assistant with a fancy title, but rules are rules. The irony hung thick. Eleanor was the rules. She'd spent decades crafting the ClearSky Ethics Grid, a system ensuring fairness in aviation. But Jason didn't care. He hit a button under the desk. 2 minutes later, a security officer, Frank, mid-50s with a buzz cut and a belt that jangled too loudly, appeared. Problem? He asked, looking only at Jason. No problem, Eleanor said before Jason could speak. I'm accessing Tier 1 for an audit. Your colleague seems confused. Frank's eyes scanned her coat, hands, face not for safety but for judgment. ID, he grunted. She handed it over. He squinted, unimpressed. Ma'am, you need to step outside while we verify. This is my area, she said, her voice steady as steel. Frank shifted, impatient. Ma'am, don't make this difficult. Step outside. Jason chimed in, his patience fake. We're just following protocol. Wrong, Eleanor said softly. She turned and walked toward the glass exit, the cold outside slapping her face. Humiliation made the wind feel personal. Beyond the doors, she watched 2 white businessmen breeze through Tier 1 with a nod and a good morning, sir. No questions. No badges. Just privilege. Eleanor pulled out her phone. Her thumb hovered for 2 seconds, then dialed. Operations Prime. Confirm Coastal Haven. Activate Skylock, Tier 1 Ethics Lockdown. Now. Click. No raised voice, no threats, just a command. 5 minutes later, the airport would grind to a halt, and $780 million in routing credits would freeze. She stood still, her silence sharper than any shout. Inside, the first sign of trouble was subtle. Flight 1814 to Charlotte flickered on the gate display, then went black. A gate agent tapped the screen, confused. In the operations room, a red alert blinked on the ClearSky dashboard. Tier 1 ethics violation. A technician squinted. This never happens, he muttered. Outside, Eleanor's breath fogged in the cold, her reflection faint in the glass. She was invisible to them, but the system saw everything. Jason sipped his coffee, chuckling with Frank, oblivious to the countdown. Then the VIP lane display flashed. Access restricted. ClearSky protocol hold. He frowned. That's not right. His eyes darted to Eleanor outside, still unmoving. He felt a prickle of unease. In the control room, voices rose. Why's flight path sync down? A tech demanded. A second alert appeared. Clearski ethics override initiated. Authority, Brooks, Eleanor. Master clearance. The supervisor whispered, call FAA compliance. Now. Across the southeast, the ripple spread. In Charleston, boarding bridges froze. In Atlanta, Hartsfield-Jackson screens blinked red. An FAA official confirmed, this is no drill. Dr. Brooks activated Skylock. In Coastal Haven, Frank's radio crackled with panic. Gates locked. Flights to Raleigh, Tampa held. Command grids down. He glanced at Eleanor. She hadn't flinched, but something had shifted. Everyone felt it. Upstairs, Karen Walsh, Assistant Director of Operations, stormed into the executive suite, slamming down a memo dated 3 days prior. Internal audit, ethics observation. Dr. Eleanor Brooks may conduct unannounced audits. Treat all guests with respect, regardless of appearance. Immediate compliance required. No one had shared it with Jason or Frank. Who dropped the ball? Karen snapped. Silence answered. Downstairs, a janitorial lead, Martha, approached Eleanor outside with a bottle of water and a warm cloth. Miss Brooks, she said softly, some of us saw. We always see. We just don't have the power. Eleanor took the water, her eyes softening. You did today, she said. Martha smiled. They told me to stay inside. I came out here instead. Eleanor's phone buzzed. Skylock confirmed. 23 routes affected. $780 million frozen. She didn't react, just watched the terminal unravel. Jason stood frozen behind the podium, the line of impatient travelers growing. A businessman barked, what's the holdup? I've got a 9:20 to DC. Jason mumbled about a systems error, but the truth was dawning. He'd misjudged the wrong woman. By 10 a.m., the FAA issued a statement. Dr. Eleanor Brooks, Master Clearance Officer, activated Skylock lawfully. We are reviewing local failures. Social media erupted. A 9-second clip, filmed by an intern, Sarah, showed Jason's smirk and Frank's cold dismissal. Caption: This is what happens when you don't know who's watching. It hit 1.3 million views in hours. Comments raged. This is systemic bias. Quiet. Confident men doing the wrong thing. It's not one airport. It's every gate. In a boardroom, the CEO of Horizon Air watched his 2018 clip resurface, laughing off Eleanor's Sky Dignity proposal. By nightfall, shareholders forced his resignation on live TV. At Coastal Haven, Karen faced the staff. We're flagged red across 3 nodes. 112 flights suspended. This is on us. She held up the ignored memo. Who saw this? No hands rose. Eleanor, still outside, sent a message to all staff. Today wasn't punishment. It was exposure. Assumptions based on appearance risk more than credibility. They risked the system's foundation. Protocol doesn't build culture. People do. Jason read it twice, his smugness gone. For the first time, he saw himself as the problem. In Washington, Eleanor faced an FAA panel via Zoom. Was Skylock proportionate? They asked. She replied, is a warning enough when people think you don't matter? I gave them a memo. They told me to wait outside not for lack of credentials, but for assumptions. Unchecked, systems fail. The room fell silent. By noon, headlines screamed. One call exposes $780 million airport crisis. The Sky Dignity Protocol, once ignored, gained traction. It demanded ethics certifications, public compliance scores, real-time violation tracking, and a passenger rights index. Airports that rejected it now begged to adopt it. 6 months later, Coastal Haven's terminal glowed with a new sign, ethics score, 98% compliant. Sky Dignity active. Travelers barely noticed, but for those who'd felt invisible, disabled veterans, single mothers, people of color, it was everything. Inside, Eleanor stood by the gate where it began. A gate agent, Lisa, approached. Dr. Brooks, thank you. If this system existed years ago, I wouldn't have cried after shifts. Eleanor nodded. Then it's working. At 9 a.m., the speakers announced. Coastal Haven leads the Southeast in ethical compliance, joining 142 certified terminals. Horizon Air CEO took the podium. Dr. Brooks didn't shame us. She made us better. Eleanor stayed back, letting Sarah speak. This isn't a finish line. It's a checkpoint. Dignity is a constant. Later, Eleanor watched a girl help her grandmother check in. the agent waving back with genuine kindness. She turned to Martha. Do they feel the system protecting them? Martha smiled. They don't need to. They're not being hurt. That's the system. That night, Eleanor flew coach, no fanfare. A mother apologized for her toddler's kicks. Eleanor smiled. It's fine. The flight attendant thanked her sincerely. No one questioned her place. The system held. For the first time, Eleanor felt peace. In a Senate hearing, she testified, Skylock doesn't give me power. It protects those with none. The Sky Dignity mandate passed 22-1, making ethics mandatory nationwide. Airports displayed compliance scores. Passengers felt seen, not as exceptions, but as expectations. Eleanor handed her badge to a young black girl after the hearing. Why'd you do it? The girl asked. To prove we belong, Eleanor said. A year later, JFK, LAX, and 138 airports showed Sky Dignity active. A boy with cerebral palsy boarded early, his needs pre-registered. A Latina flight attendant reported a biased supervisor, protected by the system. Small shifts, but seismic. Eleanor sipped coffee in a DC cafe, watching headlines. Sky Dignity expands to EU, Canada. She smiled softly. The system she'd built in secret now powered an industry. At Coastal Haven, a new plaque read, Passenger Dignity starts here. A man photographed it. His daughter once denied boarding for her feeding tube. A woman whispered, about time, pushing her mother's wheelchair. Eleanor stood by the glass, unnoticed. She didn't need applause. The system spoke for her. What do you think of Eleanor's story? Have you ever faced injustice or witnessed quiet strength change a system? Share your thoughts below, especially on how we confront bias and unfairness in daily life. Take a stand. Your voice could spark the next change.